Greetings, Padawan. So, you have chapters 10, 11, and 12 to read at your leisure, and I recommend, as I've done in the past, that you look over the PowerPoint slides. That really has a lot of the information that you need to know. The assignments in the crime lab this week will actually tie back to the specific things you need to know. Chapter 11 has a chart or one of those gray boxes in it that you're going to need for one of the assignments, so definitely take a look at 11.1 because you'll be using that. What I want to talk to you about is the chain of custody in computer forensics, because what's most important about what you read is that you have to get this right. You have to collect evidence correctly for it to be used in court. You wouldn't want a child pornographer to go free because you didn't collect the evidence the correct way, right? So you have to maintain the chain of custody. You have to do it right. And that starts with the warrant process. So in this, in the materials that you're going to be, in the assignments you're going to be doing for this module, you're actually going to prepare a sample warrant. And I want you to take your time with it. And there's specific instructions. I've given you a model to use because they're difficult to write when you don't know exactly what you're looking for and you don't know how many computers are involved. So you want to make sure that the warrant, first of all, you need to make sure that you have a reason to issue a warrant, right? So be sure that you can actually ask for a warrant. But once you can ask for one, once you know that you know a crime is being committed and you have evidence that the material is at that location and you have the ability to serve the warrant, or that you have the ability to serve the warrant, you want to be broad enough that you're asking to collect whatever evidence you can find. So, for example, when you get to a crime scene, if you see a computer on, you can leave it on. Don't touch it until you've done your proper protocol, right? Which is always going to be secure the crime scene, separate the witnesses, get rid of the bystanders, right? You're going to do all that. Make sure you take care of anybody that might be hurt at the scene. You do all that first, right? And then you're going to take copious notes with paper and pen. Now, I love technology. I'm in love with technology. But if you're using an iPad or you're using a portable device, that can be hacked while you're on it. Nobody's going to hack a piece of paper and your pen and your brain. So, old school, always have pen and paper so that you can draw the crime scene, you can draw where everything is. If a device is turned off, do not turn it on. And there are a few reasons why. One, a good hacker is going to have some sort of biometric system connected to that machine. And so you turning it on, you're not going to be able to pass the retina scan or the palm scan or the fingertip scan or whatever they're using. And it will, encrypt the files, it'll burn away the files, whatever, upon turning it on if you're not the authorized user. So never turn on something that is off. You're going to collect it and you're going to get it to the forensic team so that they can boot it up correctly. If it's on, just leave it on until it's time to collect the evidence. You can leave it where it's standing. You always want to take photographs of everything you see. Everything that you see, take photographs of it before you touch it. Don't touch anything before you've taken your notes and you've taken your pictures. And don't always look for the obvious things, right? A good hacker isn't going to have USBs just laying around for you to discover, right? There are things that are called rubber duckies, for example. A rubber ducky is exactly that. It's a rubber duck that goes around a USB, so when you see it, it just looks like a USB. Remember how Snowden got information in and out? He used a Rubik's Cube, right? So it's not always obvious. A good hacker isn't going to have stuff like that laying around. Now, a good hacker will also destroy evidence if they know that somebody's coming for it. So the only way to actually destroy a machine, I know this sounds sketchy, but it's true, is to drill a hole through it. multiple holes. You drive holes through the hard drive, you drive multiple holes through the hard drive, you drive multiple holes through the motherboard, and then you crack the computer, you put it in a little bundle, you send it to your microwave, and you light it up. I know that sounds sketchy and horrible, and you're thinking, wow, my professor, why does she know that? Because it's my job to know that. That's how people get rid of evidence, right? And if they are, going to be going up the river for a long, long time, it's in their best interest, they think, to get rid of evidence, right? So you want to be looking for things that are out of the ordinary. So how do you put that into a warrant when you don't exactly know what you're looking for? Or do you go with the warrantless approach and try to go that way? So your chapters talk about warrantless search, and when that's appropriate, when you can do that, and you have an assignment tied to that. But there are risks involved with that. Because remember, at the end of this game comes a trial. And how you collected evidence and then how it gets analyzed, which is next week, how you collect it, how it is analyzed, that could all be blown apart by a really good lawyer. So you don't want to ever be in the position of being that person who screwed it up and now that child pornographer is walking free. Right, so your textbook is good, but it is very chatty. So, and it's graduate level stuff. So definitely watch the slides. But this article from InfoSec I thought is really helpful and really, really breaks everything down. Talks about the importance of the examiner and the importance in the court. So it has some really great tips. So you want to save original materials, right? Always work on copies. Never, when we get to evidence next week, you never work on the originals. You always make copies because you just never know. At the crime scene, you want to have physical photos of the physical evidence, and then they're going to take more photos when they start working on stuff. You want to take screenshots of any digital evidence that you find, right? You want to take screenshots wherever you can. Sometimes you take screenshots with your phone to, or another camera. You want to take, you can take shots that way. You want to make sure that you document date and time, anything, any information, any kind of metadata that you can find. You want to make sure that you're recording time and date. And then a forensic lab is going to do some of these other steps for you, right? Inject a bit for bit clone of digital evidence into the forensic computers. They're going to compare it to other stuff. They're going to perform a hash test to authenticate the working clone. And then, this article goes through other considerations when we look at digital evidence. And that's really more of what we're going to talk about next week. But to make their job easier, how you've collected the material on your side is going to make things easier on their side. And then you two together, how you collected it, how they analyze it, that goes together to court, and that's how we bring people to justice. So, big takeaways for these 3 chapters and for this module: how you collect stuff is important. What you collect is important. Protecting the rights of victims, and also, you aren't guilty until you're proven guilty. We often forget that. We just, we don't often think about that. But you want to protect justice, right? So you want to do things the right way. And it can get challenging because of every phone is different. Every laptop is different. Every hacker is different. So they're, and it's not like, one of the most complicated things is when there are rings of people doing things and they're all using the dark web. Like, there are so many layers because maybe you are in Pennsylvania, but you're working with somebody in Iceland, right? And so there's all kinds of jurisdictions that apply. And so it's important to know kind of which agency does what, and there's an assignment for you for that. Like, what does the FBI do, and what does the NSA do, and what does the post office do? Like, how do those bodies all work together? Who does what exactly? So it's important to know who does what. But for you, if you're going into law enforcement or you're going to be an officer, like, at your level, what should you do to preserve the crime scene and to preserve the evidence so that it can be moved to the next level with a forensic technician. All right, so Padawan, those are your notes for this week. We moved from a hacker studio, notice, to crime lab. This week and next week you'll have your crime labs. And in there, it's like the hacker studios, but this time you're looking at things from a different perspective. Now you're looking at how we collect, if you've done a DDoS or you've phished somebody, like, what do we do? What do we collect? How do we collect it? And that is the important information for this week. All right, we have one more week to go. You are almost done. You've been amazing, and you can do it. All right. I'll see you soon.